Hello, my name is Marjukka Niinioja. I'm founding partner of Osaango, and today I'm going to tell you about how technology influences APIs as products. A little bit about me. I'm a consultant and trainer around APIs and API-enabled technologies, and especially business models. And at Osaango, we specialize in smart business ecosystems and related APIs. But also we work with other members of the API Collective, a global API specialist consultancy network, so to speak. So we have people all over the world, and we also provide services to global companies. One of the key things I want to ask you or make you think about is, do you believe in API products? It's kind of like believing in Santa Claus or Père Noël. In my experience, 7 out of 10 developers and product managers don't believe in API products. Many also don't think technology impacts how the APIs can be productized, or from the technologist side, they don't believe that API consumer needs should impact the design and technology choices for APIs, or rather that they would make a difference if they are used as a starting point. All shades of internal and external continuum of APIs are considered as APIs as products, so it's not only for externally used APIs. They just need to meet a consumer need with clear value proposition, fit a company's strategy. They should be easy. This typically means familiar and safe, typically standard-based to use and reuse throughout the product's life cycle. Scalability is almost a must-have, and they should fit all the customers with the exact same need without being customized. When I was co-authoring the book API Economy 101 a few years back, I collected this list of all possible ways, or I think there are all possible ways of how APIs can play a role in your business model. And that means also that depending on the role in the business model, the APIs may have different technologies that they use, and they may have different kind of internal, external, public partner role also. Now, no matter what is the role of the API in the business model, the technology choices impact all the areas in the business model and architecture, and an API product can have its own business model. As an example of key channels where API management and portal technologies play a big part, not all the interface standards are supported by all the tools. They don't all have the sufficient security, privacy, performance, and business models to support all the possible environments and use cases. And not all the portal and gateway technologies work together. Most don't. And for example, some specialized use cases like SaaS platforms might not benefit from traditional API management tools. These may sound weird statements to you if you're very inside of all the API management technologies, but actually these are things that I notice a lot of times that, seasoned technologists, but also if we go more and more into the product management side and kind of governance side, these are things that people often believe can be supported, so that these are kind of like Lego blocks. Not just the APIs are the Lego blocks, but the API management and all the other bits and pieces are also Lego blocks that can be interchangeably used, but that's not really the case. So in order to understand the impact of technology and the dependencies, you need to look at the API as a product from the business model point of view. So who's the audience? What's the value they are getting out of the API? How is the manufacturing, the implementation of the API's kind of core technology done? What is the packaging? So how is it found, used, and documented, designed? And where can this API be taken into use or be found? What kind of catalogs, gateways, portals is it presented in? So all those things are dependent on our playing a part in what technology is to use. Now we're going to look at a few case examples from Osaango's customer cases and cases we have been involved with. And these range from supercomputing to AI to IoT to, well, even quantum APIs. Now, I'm going to use a method called API cycles, which is an openly licensed method. And it is nice in this case because it should be understandable and usable both for product and business people, but also technologists with variety of skill sets. So here I've used only a few parts of the business model to just maybe highlight some of the key things. There are often also cost and revenue and other kind of skill and resources, things that impact the technology choices and the productization, but here I'm only concentrating on the immediate technology. So here we have a global machinery manufacturer where one of the key things with APIs was that they wanted to both internally and for their customers and partners use APIs to access the usage and smart maintenance forecast data of heavy machinery that they are manufacturing and selling. And there were some key constraints, like, for example, Azure API management and portal were basically the only choice that they could choose, or we could help them choose because of their purchasing schedule and other constraints. Also, they had massive amounts of data already in Azure, so there would have been some cost impacts to choose something else. Also, they needed to support China, and Azure is one of those solutions that was usable in China. So all of these things impacted the choice of using REST APIs for these APIs, which were to be consumed by first the BI tools and supported by this Azure API management tooling. So pretty straightforward case. But then we had this supercomputing center. So here we had a case where they wanted to buy NVIDIA GPU-powered supercomputers, and there was a lot of big data involved, archives and other things that needed low latency. So the consumers of those APIs and the data wouldn't be very far physically from the center, and they it was obviously an on-premise kind of setup. There was a lot of like high throughput and other performance things to consider, and they also needed to use open source because of the nature of the research center and the funding. So we basically had to limit ourselves to REST async API or gRPC. But there we still have choices. And the question was which open source on-premise installable API management and portal tooling could actually support any of these, and did it make a difference which of these we would use. gRPC was one of the choices that could be used in this case because they were the partners using those APIs were extremely restricted and very nearby and very secure. So it was almost like in-house usage of the APIs. But not all API management tooling and documentation tooling and everything supports gRPC, or rather, for example, Open API with protobuf. So that was one of the considerations to think about. Now, the final big example here is AI-powered National Audio and Video Archiving Center, where we again had to deal with on-premise, very strict IPR needs. They had a big plan to use AI, for example, to automate the annotation of all the video and like TV and radio programs that are sent in Finland nationally, and there was a metadata database that should have been searched with these APIs. So we also had to cut down the cost of development from the teams and vendors who were coming to develop it. So there was a university that had created already an SPA, single page application for this particular purpose. And they actually had GraphQL integrated to that. So GraphQL was the key choice because of that. And it actually fits the purpose quite nicely. So then there was a need to have GraphQL API management solution to be installed on-premise Unix machines. And obviously, all of it had to deal with like huge amounts of data quite fast, although there are, of course, technologies to make things faster for that reason. But anyway, a lot of constraints also from who were using the APIs. So very internal use, very restricted research partners that were using mainly the APIs. So again, it could be constrained quite nicely, but there was also a lot of things that you couldn't just take into use from whatever cloud you wanted. So you need to really think about all the choices carefully. Now, the last example, which is like a collection of examples, is that if you have things like IoT devices or supercomputers or quantum computers and their related APIs, they are very sensitive to latency. Then, of course, there are all kinds of security and compliance cases that are also very kind of location aware, where the data and where the networks are connected and what technology can even be used in certain parts of the world. So there are lots of different considerations, especially when thinking of a global situation or hardware-related concerns. For example, in IBM's Quantum API, you can specify which location of computing center you are actually going to use. Where is that physical quantum machine that is going to be used for your requests? And then there are some other tools that we have created specifically for IoT, so to collaborate easily with all the different IT and, let's say, electricity and other domain-specific people, and also business people, compliance people, that you can actually gather requirements even if people are in different organizations. IoT cases are like that often, that people are not aware where the boundaries of organization, technology, and for example, data and APIs and responsibilities, where they are, and who should consider what, and it's a very messy case. So this canvas was developed with a few cities to help in that sort of a situation. So in conclusion, one can say that the productization and so the packaging and distributing of APIs are always affected or enabled or restricted by the technology used to implement the APIs. And they affect the technology choices, affect the API consumers, even if they shouldn't really. But we just need to minimize the impact and find the product market fit as well as the cost benefit ratio. And this needs product people to drive the process, but they need to understand the impact of the technologies involved. And this requires quite multidisciplinary collaboration and suitable methods for it. So feel free to take a look at these links and stay in touch. So thank you.